Good morning to you, and thank you for keeping it NTV as you enjoy the rest of the programming. Now, I welcome you to this very special broadcast where we'll be discussing on a critical topic that lies in the intersection of economic growth, environmental sustainability, and social development, and that is a sustainable procurement reforms in Uganda. Welcome you, and of course we are streaming live on YouTube and also right here on NTV. Now, to give you a background of where the sustainable procurement reforms in Uganda did start in 2015, Uganda alongside 190 other nations endorsed the 2030 agenda for sustainable development and the United Nations 17 sustainable development goals. Now, this marked the beginning of a significant shift in how public procurement is approached, with a focus on integrating sustainability into government practices. Now, specifically, the SDG target 12.7 calls for the promotion of sustainable public procurement practices, and target 12.6 encourages both public and private institutions to adopt sustainable practices and integrate sustainability information into their reporting cycles. So since then, Uganda has embarked on a journey to reform its procurement systems, ensuring that purchases made by government not only deliver the value for money, but also contribute to the long-term sustainability of the country. So today, we are joined by an expert in procurement and sustainability. That is David Chinji-Nyimbwa. He is the head of the Sustainable Procurement Secretariat of the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development. So what his role here is, he will be helping us to explore the progress that Uganda has made, the obstacles that are still on our way, and of course the steps that we need to take to ensure that sustainable procurement becomes the norm rather than the exception in both public and private sectors. Once again, welcome, I'm Mildred Pedun, and without further ado, allow me welcome our guest. Yes, David, thank you so much for joining us. You can say good morning to our viewers.
Morning, dear viewers and everybody out there. Morning, Mildred.
Yes, it is good to have you, and it is very important that you are here to shed more light on this topic of sustainable procurement reforms, because not so many Ugandans out there actually understand that this is something that also concerns them, or this is something that they need to get acquainted with. And so as we start the conversation, we need, for the benefit of the viewer and for the benefit of our conversation, to understand what, first of all, sustainability is.
Thank you, Mildred. Sustainability, as a word, from the dictionary point of view, is basically the ability to support a process.
Okay.
Actually, you are here because of sustainability, because you want to sustain yourself, to manage your life.
Yes.
We work because of sustainability. We take our children because of sustainability.
To earn a living, to sustain.
Living. People in the village dig because they want to stay alive, to survive. Some countries fight because they want to survive. The Gaza and the battles you hear, some people are fighting for their survival. It's all about how to sustain yourself.
Okay.
But now when we go beyond that, as you mentioned in 2015, this we've been doing a lot of, countries have been doing a lot of development, but and growth. We talk about, we've heard about these terms of growth and development. So in 2015, 193 member states came together to adopt the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda, and that's where we have the 17 SDGs. These 17 SDGs have 169 targets, which countries agreed that by 2030 we should have achieved. I don't know how many years now we have. We have less than
2 years. Less than how many years?
About 5 years.
5 years.
About 5 years. So we are not doing well, because not much, I think, has been achieved.
Has been achieved, okay.
But we agreed as UN members that we must achieve the 169 targets. One of them is promoting...
Before 2030.
Before 2030. One of them is promoting sustainable procurement.
Okay.
That's one of the targets.
That's one of the targets. But before we get into the sustainable procurement, or the gist of that, still on sustainability, you know, they say sustainability stands on 4 pillars, which are the environment, social, economic, and governance. How is that? Because when you were giving your examples, you related it to life. And so how does sustainability trickle down to the environment, to social, to the economic and governance pillars?
Now, the concept of sustainability, we want to make sure that sustainable development now.
Yes.
We want to make sure that whatever development that takes place globally in our countries, even from the individual point of view, whatever we do, we don't forget about the future generations. We don't do something to finish whatever we have. So we need to be conscious. So that's why initially people were after maybe growth. Growth is so much about putting up structures and not. Right. You don't care what happens next. But I was saying that development must be sustainable.
Okay.
That what we do, let's not do something to finish or to destroy completely because you want to achieve your objective. Make sure that whatever you do, you take into consideration nature.
Okay.
That's where environment comes in. You take into consideration the people. The people. Okay. That's where the social element comes in.
Okay.
We take about the survival, economics, the economic pillar. Then the issue of governance, of integrity and so forth. Because we may do all the other things right, but if there's no integrity, there's no ethical approaches, then everything may be doomed.
Okay.
So how does this trickle? So what we are saying that as you buy, traditionally, one may say, why sustainable procurement?
Yes.
Why is sustainable procurement? Why is sustainable procurement?
And what is it? What is it even all about?
What is it? Sustainable procurement is about now integrating those pillars you've talked about, the environment, socio-economic and governance, into the procurement decision-making process. That as we go out to buy, let's not only think, traditionally people have been thinking of price. When you go to buy, who's the cheapest? And in government,
of course.
And government, people have been taken on ransom that you bought expensively. Why are you paying for this at this price when there's a cheaper one there? So the concept in government and in our lives, most people tend to look at. But the good thing that people are now becoming aware, especially my daughters and sisters, daughters like you,
yes,
and sisters and mothers. When it comes, I can give you a simple example of shoes. There are shoes you can put on and within hours it's broken.
Yes. Because of its quality. Because
it was 10,000 shillings, you wanted to buy the 10,000.
Quality and cheap price.
You said the other one of 70,000 is very expensive.
Yes.
So you buy 10 pairs of 10,000 when the other is having one pair of 50,000 because it's long lasting.
That's why they say cheap things are expensive.
So the traditional approach in government, in most government and most in our lives has been price. And we're saying that it's not shouldn't be on the price. Look at beyond the price. Because, by the way, when you integrate these aspects, that what I'm doing is how is it going to affect the environment? How is it going to, how does it influence my people? Okay. How does it influence my economy? So you'll find that as you incorporate these pillars in your buying decision, you move away from the cheap and add in other aspects. So traditionally, in buying, people have been only looking at price. Okay. Go everywhere. Who was the cheapest? You pay something higher, they say, no, you are a thief. Why are you paying something higher? But now we are saying, no, price is not the only determinant. There are many things we need. Okay. We need to think of our future. We need to think of our children and grandchildren. The rate at which this world is consuming materials is too high, that we may need another planet by 2050 if we don't control. How I can give you a simple example. If you have any friend who's building, or if you are building, the sand which we used to the plaster sand which we used to pick from 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers from Kampala. Now you have to pick it from maybe about 50 kilometers away from Kampala. True. The lake sand used to come from around Kampala. Now it's coming from Rueda, very far, and even there it's being the rate at which they are picking it is also very scary. So what would be the ideal? So we are saying that as we think of buying, let us assess the risks of what we are doing to the environment, the risks of what we are doing to the human beings, to society, to the economy, That's why now, much as we are talking of this reform as new, it's new on paper. But the implementation started some time back. We've already started implementing. Okay. The implementation started some time back. Yes, because it was the concept came up in 2015. The concept came up in 2015. Okay. And then for us, we had to put up a policy. Okay. There are a number of policies. We had to change the procurement law. And the procurement law was basically changed in 2021. But even before 2021, there are so many sustainability issues that government had already started on.
Okay.
But we are marketing them as reservations, as ESHS, in works and so forth.
Okay.
But now we are making it more wider, and we are extending the tentacles from the few products to more products.
Okay, so then since 2015, what steps has Uganda taken in embracing or acknowledging the sustainable procurement reforms?
As far as sustainable procurement reforms are concerned,
Or practices?
Practices are concerned, basically they are new as far as those reforms are concerned. They are new because we had to change the law. We incorporated them, this concept was incorporated in the procurement policy in the 2019, the National Public Sector Procurement Policy, which was enacted in 2019. So officially in the policy, from a policy point of view, from 2019, we had a policy. But by the way, that policy it delayed, but it had been completed by 2016, but because of bureaucracy, it delayed up to 2019. Now, after putting in the policy, we had to amend the law, because to make it enforceable, you must change the law. Okay, so
let's just talk about the policy. What was it supposed to address, or what was it meant for when we talk about implementing or Uganda actually embracing the procurement practices?
Now, the policy, ideally, in government, whatever government does starts with the policy.
Okay.
That's where you show your intent. What do you want to do and why?
Okay.
So the intent, we didn't have a procurement policy in this country. By then, many countries don't have procurement policies. We are lucky. We are among there are about 5 countries in Africa, I think, which have a procurement policy, and we are among them. Okay. So this policy normally comes up and says, what do you want and where do you want to be? So that's why we incorporated this concept. Okay. That traditionally procurement was being looked at as just buy, use, throw away, buy, use, throw away. Now we said, now we need to start using this function to promote other policies on the environment, on the social, economic, and many others. So people started having a different way of looking at procurement. Not basically to buy, because actually people when you talk of procurement, the next thing is, where is money? Money to buy and then throw away. Yeah. But you can't even procure without spending money. Okay. By the way, you can't even procure without spending money. Without spending money. Spending all that big chunk of money that as you may spend. Okay. You may, this concept, you can use the procurement concept to achieve many other policy objectives that government has. Okay. So in this case, these policies showed the intent that no, procurement can be used to do many things. Many things. It can be used to protect the environment, it can be used to help the society, it can be used to promote the SMEs, the small medium enterprises. It can be used to support the local, the national production, like the reservation schemes that we had already incorporated. So those were already incorporated in the law, but as reservation schemes. But those are the tools to support the economic pillar, which you've talked about among the 4 pillars. Among the 4. So the local content is one of the tools to support sustainability. Okay. So when we are carrying out, say, procurements, we also have to factor in sustainability. So now, once we showed the intent in the policy, yes, we had to change the law to tell people, and now, initially it was Section 61 in the PPDA Act, now it is now, with the realignment, it's now 66. But now we've incorporated it in the national law, that government buyers must take into consideration sustainability issues whenever they are buying. Don't just look at price alone. Take into consideration other factors. For example. So, for example. For example. Yes. We want to. For example. Let me take a simple example of. Because I want to imagine myself. If I have gone to, say, procure or to purchase or to buy something, how then should I, at the back of my mind, have the concept of sustainability from what I am going to buy? Now, that's what we now talk of. How do you integrate this concept into the procurement decision-making process? Absolutely. Now, How do you do it? The first thing you must know, you must know what you buy in the first place. What do you buy? Are you buying water? Are you in a health center that you buy medicine? Are you in a means of works that you buy roads? Because different organizations have different things they buy.
They procure, yes.
Let me take a case of roads. You want to put up a building. You want to put up a building. That today, when I'm going to put up a building, the building must be environmental friendly. What do I mean? That there's a lot of free energy which we don't utilize. You've realized that many developed countries, they no longer use bricks to put on walls for office blocks.
Yes.
It's not by accident. They want to tap into the free sun. You find an office, I know this is a studio, you need these lights. But if it was not a studio, you find an office with these lights during the daytime.
And
when
as
actually,
opposed to having the natural light.
You could have used natural light. You could have used what? Natural light. Have a big windows and you tap into the natural lights. I know now, so the building should be environmental friendly.
Okay.
That's one example I'm giving you. The second example is, let's look at the furniture you're going to put in your offices. The furniture you're going to put in your offices. What kind of furniture? If you wanted to use wood products, you should not just come and say, because our Minister of Finance want to buy tables for our ministry, want to use muvule and mahogany. Traditional people have been using mahogany because it's a hardwood. We need mahogany. How many mahoganies are you planting before you demand for it? Why do you ask for mahogany which you don't even plant? Are they even there? You must also take into consideration that there are other policies now, like the NFA. It has protected some species, like muvule. It's now in Uganda. It's now an endangered species. It's not supposed to be cut. So now Minister of Finance, Minister of Education should not come and say our furniture for schools we want it to be out of muvule or out of mahogany. That species could have been actually preserved. So be conscious. Don't make a decision because look beyond your own organization. Two, where is the timber going to come from? Most of the timber, the biggest challenge we have now in Uganda today, like in many other countries, the rate of deforestation is too high because of charcoal, because of construction, because of furniture. But government is is one of the major buyers. So it's one of the major culprits in destroying forests. So we want to make sure that now as you go out to buy the furniture, we want you to buy the timber from only those certified dealers. The certified dealers are there now in Uganda.
Yes, before we came on air, we were actually discussing this. And you did say that people should move away from buying timber from those that have cut, that have cut down trees. Yes, the natural resources. But rather buy from those that are planting the trees. And my question is, are you able to distinguish? Are you able to, how do you monitor that now this one is the illegal timber, this is the one that I'm allowed to buy from? So
how are we going to do this? What we want to do is to make sure that government sets the pace. That all the timber we buy in government comes from only those certified, registered sellers. Who satisfies? We can get this from NFA. We can get this from the Forest Stewards Council. The good news is that they have an association. For instance, the timber growers have an association which goes Uganda Timber Growers Association. They are already aware of this. And they are now making strides to register. Why? We believe that once we buy from these people, because we are buying a lot as government, we can reduce the demand of those who are cutting randomly trees in the outside there. And we believe that once we set the pace, other institutions like church institutions, like NGOs, they will follow the suit. That because this is not we're not doing it for the purpose of pleasing the UN. No, we are doing to save our own country and this globe, to manage, to protect the deforestation. If we don't do this, we are destroying we are clearing. Actually, we are eliminating the forests. Okay. But now if we buy from these guys will be it will be a motivation to plant more. So we shall have created a demand for these certified registered timber growers. So they will plant more. Other than these guys who just go on cutting trees from wherever they find. So we believe that because we control, government buys the biggest buyer. Once we make this policy decision, we've made the policy decision. Okay. Now we put in the law. Now we are going to do implementation.
Yes. And
how shall we monitor? How shall we monitor?
Okay.
Now, to supply for you to supply government, you must buy from the certified registered bidders are available. We know them because it's public information. So you must be registered. If you're not registered, we don't give you business. If you're going to give us furniture, we ask you where you're getting the timber from. You must tell us where, and we shall have monitoring teams to track where this timber is coming from. How do you track? You must give us the invoices where you bought from, that you use when you're buying the raw materials that you use for furniture. So if you're the furniture supplier, and I give you the order, when you're submitting maybe your invoices, you must also submit evidence that this timber came from this person.
Then I'll go and look for another buyer who does not mind where my timber is coming from.
But I'm the biggest buyer. I'm the biggest buyer. Now, someone will say, but we have also the private buyers who don't care. Private buyers also becoming conscious. Why? What is happening out there? I'm just giving we are arranging one example of timber. The most of the timber on the market is they cut young trees. And these young trees, when you use them for roofing or some of this furniture, they don't last. The roof can even collapse. So the moment you become aware that a 10,000 shoe don't take you for 2 days, you think twice. If you're in construction industry and you have a roof structure which collapses, you think twice that, I think I should also go to the certified. Because the certified timber growers, they don't sell immature trees. They sell mature trees. So you may find a pole somewhere in the market. But if you don't know, if you don't know the source, some of these are young trees and they don't last. If it's furniture, the furniture will be of poor quality. Okay. If it's a door, it will not be a good door. So now, people, once we start, others will join us. We believe we may not achieve it 100%.
I was about to ask, do you think it is achievable?
It can be achieved 100%. But, if you had 1 million shillings there and you moved 1 shillings, is it still a million?
No.
It's not a million. So we think that one shilling can be our contribution to protecting nature.
Okay.
Protecting nature.
Yes.
So that was one area of environment. What about the issue of the social pillar? I'll give you, government buys we spend a lot of money through construction. And these contractors have been exploiting our workers. They don't give them the protective PPEs, protective gears. They don't care about their safety. They work for long hours. We are saying now, before we give you a contract, you must have evidence that you have A, B, C, D in place. How are you addressing environmental issues? If it's construction, how are you addressing the barrows when you pick the maram? How do you leave that place? Do you leave it as just open ground for mosquitoes to breed, and then the mosquitoes disturb the environment, the villagers? What are you doing when you're walking on the road? Do you care about the dust of the people? Much as you are making road for them. But what about the dust? They're going to fall sick. Are you pouring water? These are the things that we are putting. They must show us how they're going to do it. Safety, in terms of safety, do you offer them safety gears? When you're making a road and you're putting pits, do you cover them? Do you protect them?
How is their welfare?
How is the welfare of these people? Do you tell them about the dangers of HIVs and so forth? Do you allow them? Do they give the community opportunities to work on some of these projects? So we are saying that now procurement must incorporate these social aspects. In fact, we are beaten at one time some years ago when one of our bank project was cancelled. Sometime back in the West, it was in the Western Uganda, and government of Uganda suffered World Bank cancelled that project because of social. They took a road somewhere in Kanungu side. These contractors started implementing girls. This is not what we want.
So let us look at the economic bit of it.
The economic bit of it. Now, the economic bit of it, how are we going to incorporate this? The economic bit of it is that we are aware that our nationals have also invested in production. So what we are saying that wherever there are items of quality within the environment, they should be bought locally. So that's why now the reservation scheme becomes a tool of sustainable procurement. We've already, by the way, reserved things like textile. We've reserved things like the textile. Now, police and defense used to buy a lot of uniforms. And we are saying buy them from
here.
Locally. Because we have. If these guys are picking the cotton from Soroti, from where, why don't we support them? By doing that, you are supporting the economic pillar. We are saying that let's reserve some of this work for the youth. You saw the recent statistics. We are sitting on a time bomb in Uganda. I think the youth are bigger. It's a time bomb, and the majority are not working. Yeah. You saw the statistics.
Yes.
How can we use procurement to support the youth? So if you have come up with the productive ventures, let us reserve. That's why now they have reserved a certain percentage of work, procurements. I think it's up to 30%, 15% for the disadvantaged groups. That's the women, youth, and so forth. Let's give them an opportunity if government is buying, let some of that work go to these companies belonging to the youth, the women, and people with disabilities. So this is now, you're using now sustainability, the reservation to sustain the society and the economy. Okay. You're creating jobs for them. So in other words, you're actually supporting what they call the even the Bubu policy. Buy Uganda, build Uganda. So that's all about sustainability. Okay. You are using procurement, you're using what we call the buyer power. Government has the buyer power. It does. So we want to use the buyer power to influence. Because the moment we say government makes a standardization, the market will shift. It will also because they want business.
And how does the government intend to do that? Because we've talked about, the transformation up until the part of, the implementation, which you say we are taking baby steps towards it. And so how then are we going to fully roll out?
We are going to use a phased approach. Globally, this is a complex reform. It's complex. It is. Because not even our own buyers are so conversant with it. We have the politicians, we have everybody. There are many players, stakeholders, whom we need to bring on board. And right now what we are doing is sensitizing. And that's why I'm here. Telling the public, telling everybody that, hey, look here, we are moving this direction. And this direction we are taking. It's not only Uganda, it's a global. And initially people are saying that, these are European things, why are you bringing the European things in Uganda? But when we suffer, is it when the Katonga Bridge was washed away because of our not bothering about the environment. Was it the American who suffered?
It was Uganda.
When the Chambogo floods, is it the American who suffered? It's us. So we need to take, and what is the government doing? First of all, as I've told you, we've amended the law. We've now we've issued guidelines, regulations, which have incorporated also sustainability issues. We've come up with a 5-year action plan. A 5-year action plan is guiding us. How are we going to move? How are we going to engage the market? Whom are we going to work with? So we have a 5-year action plan, which we've set up. We've set up the secretariat, which I head now. This secretariat is supposed to help the department, the Procurement and Policy Management Department, which is under the Accountant General's office, on behalf of the ministry. So it's the ministry is fully determined. We are now sensitizing. We are now training the procurement cadres. We have come up with we have almost weekly training engagements. We are engaging the market. The market, these are the people who are supplying us, like the tree growers, the wood products. We want to talk to the suppliers, because they must know what we are doing, and they should be able to comply. Because if they don't comply, we won't succeed. And we are going to start with a few. We are going to add on the existing products, the reservation, the works, because the reservation are part of sustainable products. because that's already sustainability. Okay. All we are going to do is to modify the solicitation documents,
okay,
and make sure that as we will invite the bidders, they know we want to buy sustainably. Either want to buy eco-friendly furniture, we want to buy an eco-friendly technology. So it's going to be a little bit what? We are going to make sure that we move in a phased manner, because it's also costly. We need to be very careful.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you have talked about what the public, mostly the public sector, is required to do to adopt the sustainable procurement. But I'm also interested in knowing how, or the viewer out there is also interested in knowing how the private sector is being encouraged to also follow suit. Because you did mention that in some of the guidelines or some of the regulations that you have come up with, the policies, you're going to also consider who you're going to be working with. And is this the private sector? Is the private sector also going to be following suit as the public sector has?
In terms of implementing SPP, the private sector, we shall work with the private sector, because they are the people who supply government. The private sector supplies government.
Okay.
So we have to work with them. The good news is that there are many companies today which have woken up, and because of global demands, companies like Roofings, companies like HIMA, companies like Coca-Cola, I've seen them now doing what they call sustainability reporting, which I talked about under target 12.6. That because, by the way, because the reporting now does not only concern government, but even the private sector. How are you addressing the environmental, social aspects, governance aspects, the ESG, what they call them, the banks now? In Uganda, I think I know Stambic's Centenary, I'm sure of them. I've looked at their sustainability reports. The private sector can no longer run away that these are government things. I can give you a simple example. Recently, I think you've seen the EU. You heard about coffee farmers registering.
Yes.
Where they have you taken down, not know why they are registering? We don't buy coffee as government, but somebody buys coffee.
And also, they were actually given an ultimatum that those that grow coffee on deforested land, their coffee will not be purchased.
So you see, so the private sector must wake up. That these things, as I talk about public procurement, sustainability is bigger than procurement. Now the coffee, the European market, these guys who are buying, they are so conscious. Where do our products come from? Are they coming from countries that violate children, use child labor? Are they? You ask the Nike, Nike, which is a company making sports things. They got a punishment. They are punished because of where they're getting the materials from. Now the people who are buying coffee, they are saying, we don't want to buy coffee planted in places where they've cut trees, forests. We want to buy coffee which is not actually destroying
the environment.
So you can see the issue of traceability is coming. That now they have taken, it's a big, it's going to affect even the common man down there. People have been wondering, why are we being asked to do this? But the biggest mark, 60% of your coffee goes to those guys. If you don't, it may not be, you may say, what, do we have to? But maybe you have to, because when they tell you that don't destroy that forest, it's not only them who benefit, but you benefit more than them, by the way. We have a beautiful country, but we've destroyed it because of simple things.
Okay.
We've destroyed it. When at the simplest level, sustainability, by the way, starts from home. You and me. Some people think when I talk sustainable procurement, sustainability concept starts with what you eat. What about what you eat? You and me. I think we realize that people are now becoming so much conscious of what they eat.
Yes, of late.
It is because of sustainability. Eat poorly, eat these oily things, eat this junk food. 5-10 years down the road, you will have pressure. Because your veins will be full of what? Cholesterol. Yeah? And you thought you are eating well, but you are killing yourself. People are now been wondering, why do I have to leave sugar? Why have to leave this? Why have to leave? It's because of sustainable eating. If you don't mind about what you eat, you may be buying yourself sickness. So why don't you eat what you call, eat what?
Healthy.
Healthy eating.
Or eat sustainably.
If you eat sustainably, you don't spend much, but you're managing, you're controlling future dangerous diseases. These days you have kids of 6 years having diabetes.
Oh yeah, who are
cancer. Can you imagine? Why? Because of what we eat, what we buy. We go to the supermarkets, buy every Tom and Dick, and we buy these juices. We don't know where the juices come from. Why don't you take your passion fruit? But maybe even the challenge we have is that where do these passion fruits and tomatoes
come from?
But by the way, they're also what we call green markets. I mean, I forgot your title, but they are markets for the right title for. They are markets that sell products that are not that have not been subject to chemicals. One is in Zambia. I've forgotten the real name. One takes place, I think, in Zambia.
Okay.
They are a little bit slightly expensive, but what about your health? Because when you fall sick. So even from the common person, we need to take note. If you're going to, let me use another example of bulbs. You remember the 100 watts bulb? Or you never saw it? The 100 watts bulbs in houses.
Okay.
In houses, we used to have 100 watts bulbs, 75.
Yeah.
The traditional bulbs.
Yes. These that have that sort of dim light.
No, you have. I was just giving you an example how sustainability can be even take to the lowest level.
Yes.
That traditionally, when you are people out there have been, we used to buy what we call halogen bulbs, 75 watts, 100 watts. These days we have what we call LED, which are about 5 watts, 10 watts. And incidentally, the LED light could be costing about 20,000. The other one may be costing about 3,000 shillings. So when you look at the two, you may say, but this is very expensive. But the LED uses less energy and lasts longer. So even down there, we are telling people that as we buy for our own consumption, let's consider the cost of owning a particular item. You may think that you are buying a bulb of 3,000 shillings, which is 75 watts, but the bill is going to be high. And you buy many bulbs. So you buy many. So it's sustainable. The sustainable procurement does not only stop from government, but even goes to the homestead. What do we eat? We should buy long-lasting things. I gave you the example of shoe. Buy a shoe of 70,000, which will take you for 6 months, other than buying a shoe of 10,000, which may not last you for 2 days, because you buy many more. Yes. Okay, it may take you for a week, but after a week you buy another 10. So in a month you have about 4, and in 2 months you have about 8. That's 80,000. The other 50 is still moving for the next 6 months. Okay. So that even from but apart from buying so many, there's another element there which I have to show you. That as you buy so many, you're also using so many materials to make those very many. So in other words, they have more impact, negative impact on the environment. So these cheap things, some of these cheap things are costing the world so much, more than the price, but the destruction. So these long-lasting items in sustainability are better, are far better than those on which I want to access.
Okay.
Yes,
okay, then, so are there any organizations that are already implementing the sustainable procurement?
As I've mentioned that if you look at sustainability from the perspective of this concept, you may think it's a new thing, but it's not new. All reservation schemes we have is part of sustainability. The only difference is that we are now renaming this, we are coming this title afresh, and we are going to add more products. When the government of Uganda changed the works procurement and incorporated the ESHS, that is the environmental, social, health and safety, into the bidding documents. It implies that all government institutions are already doing this. But more so, we can pick out KCCA for purpose of illustrating sustainability. KCCA has is one of the institutions that I was taking lead. When you look at the roads, I think you've seen the workers, people who clean the state roads. They are mainly from a given, they are disadvantaged women, I think. But it was it's a deliberate effort to support those kind of people. And that is what we call sustainability, to sustain them. They don't have anything to eat. CAA, I know CAA is also has also hired out buses from Kira. Kira is making electric buses.
Electric buses, yes, they are.
I know CA, they have buses there. They have, I don't know if they have leased or they bought or they have leased. But leasing is also sustainability, it's part of sustainability. And so you can imagine what is the amount of fuel has been cut. But we don't say, we're not saying that someone may say that, are you saying that we should throw away fuel consuming cars? No. That's what we're saying. But we can say that we can manage by, for instance, buying hybrid
vehicles
in government. Yes. We don't want to see SUVs which are using one. We should buy hybrid vehicles. Because when they save on the fuel, you don't have to spend a lot of money. But then the engine may be lasting longer.
Okay.
So really, they are all the efforts. As I've told you, all the reserved products, that means we've already started implementing.
Okay.
We're only going to add on more products on what is existing.
Okay. So as we are transitioning to sustainable procurement, what are some of the challenges that you have seen or you foresee with this transition? Yes,
there are definitely as a new concept. There are challenges that we've already seen. First of all, one of the major challenges has been ignorance. Ignorance of the concept. We need to educate. We need to make sure that people are aware. We need to educate people. We need to make sure that people are trained, are given the requisite skills. And then we need to prepare our market, because the people who supply government come from the market. So we need to make sure that the suppliers, are aware of this concept. So we have a huge task of training, of change management. Change management, that you stop doing this and start doing this. We have a big challenge. We have a challenge of data and information, definitely. Data. Statistics, we are coming from zero, starting from zero. We need to have a baseline so that we can be able to measure ourselves. Where are we and where shall we be tomorrow?
Okay.
Definitely issues of there are issues of capability, market capability to supply what we want, and minerals.
Okay. So looking forward to 2030, how do you see the sustainable procurement contributing to Uganda's, overall achievement of the 17 SDGs?
Looking at 2030, definitely there are 17 SDGs. We've been mentioning only one, that is 12, goal number 12. However, we contribute to almost 80% of the targets. Sustainable procurement can contribute to almost 80% of the targets. We believe that once we start this exercise, we are optimistic that within the next by 2030, we should be having at least 30% of our products being bought sustainably. That's our target.
Okay.
30%. I can't say 100%. But if we can achieve 30%, we shall have done a lot. Because remember that, for instance, if we can achieve it in wax, because wax, that's where we have the biggest spend, wax. If wax can be bought sustainably, we should have achieved a lot. If we can achieve it in wax, because that's the biggest spend where most of the money goes.
Okay.
If they can buy sustainably, consider the environment, consider the social, economic, support our Katwe people, can support our SMEs, the youth, employ the graduate trainees, buy from local manufacturers, and buy long-lasting items. I think we shall have achieved a lot.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, looking at the Uganda National Development Plan, what role do you think it will play in promoting the sustainable procurement?
Definitely, if you look at now we are moving into NDP4.
NDP4, yes.
It's talks of sustainable. If you look at even the theme, that word is there, sustainable. Sustainable economy. You can't have a sustainable economy without sustainable procurement. So actually, we are a pillar. We are a critical pillar in the attainment of NDP4. We are a critical pillar. Because they cannot talk of sustainable economy without sustainable procurement. The two are, so we are feeding into it, and we believe we shall be a great pillar in attaining the NDP4.
Okay. So there have been, as we actually get to wind up this conversation, there have been so many people critiquing this concept. Yeah. Are these myths or realities?
Yes, there have been.
Is it because they don't understand the concept? No,
as a new concept, definitely, there's what we call fear of the unknown. Everybody would like to be where he or she is used when something new comes up. Because people fear.
Yes.
But the major challenge, and actually, we've been working with the United Nations Environmental Program. By the way, they've supported us a lot. They carried out an assessment. On the challenges of SPP implementation. Challenge number one, according to the United Nations Environmental Program, was the perception that sustainable products are expensive. That was the
Isn't that the reality?
First. So the question is it a reality?
Isn't it the reality?
I don't know how much time I have to explain this.
That they are.
1 minute, 2 minutes?
You still have 3 minutes.
Okay, I still have 3 minutes. Let me go back to the example of the bulb. But maybe the bulb may take you longer. But let's use the bulb. So whoever is out there, I'll give you an example of the traditional bulb of costing 3,000 shillings.
Yes.
And the LED costing 20,000. The bulb which costs 3,000 shillings consumes 75 watts and can work for, most of these last for 1,500 hours. This bulb of 20,000 can go up to 30,000 hours. What does that mean? It can go to 30,000 hours.
Sustainability.
No, it means that you are going to buy 20 bulbs.
Of 3,000.
Of 3,000 when this one has one. If you went to the market and they told you this is 3,000, this is 20, you call this man a thief of 20,000. This man is a thief. It's like a show. If you went to a show, a lady, and they told you this shoe is 50,000, this one's 10,000, they say, but these guys are cheating. There's one of 10,000. But the 10,000 can take you for 2 days. And it's 1 week, and go and you buy another one. So you buy, maybe, as I gave you an example, you buy 5 shoes. I mean, 20. You may buy 20 shoes when the other still has one. So likewise, you buy 20 bulbs of 3,000 when I still have one of 20,000. So 20,000 times 3, that is 60,000.
60,000.
So in other words, it's a perception. It's not a reality.
Okay.
Sustainable products last longer. And they take less materials. Because now you're using one bulb here. The material for one bulb vis-a-vis material for 20 bulbs. So you see? So this is more sustainable. Sustainability is about how can we manage our resources.
Okay.
If we don't manage it, there's no other world, other earth, planet where we are going to go. Okay. We need to manage this.
I'm going to ask you, David, in 1 minute to give us your closing remarks as you sum up what we have discussed in 1 minute. As
I sum up, I want to thank you, first of all, for hosting us. And I want to thank the listeners for being attentive, listening to this program. I appeal to everybody that let's accept this concept. Right there from our homesteads, home where we stay, up to where we work. We need to start from home, what we eat, what we put on, up to what we buy. So even when it comes to anything that we buy, let's think of buying sustainably. Don't think of buying something cheap. Don't go to a drug shop and buy a drug of 1,000 and you leave that one of 5,000 because this one's cheap. You may end up getting chronic disease.
But I think it also depends on on our income. Somebody who is having less money on them, as we wrap up, may not look at the expensive product. They are going to go with something that fits in their budget, that fits in their what they have in their pocket.
It doesn't have to be the expensive product, but you need to appreciate the value, because it's not an issue of expensiveness. It's an issue of what do I get from this, because you may buy a drug of 1,000 shillings. I'm just giving an example. It's like giving the example the best because everybody appreciates it. We've seen shoes. not working for 1 week.
Because at the end of the day, there is a reason why it is that price.
You may think it's cheap, but it becomes expensive at the end of the day.
Okay.
Because you buy many more. So much as it has an element, that's one of the challenge of affordability. It's one of the challenges we have. So we need to find ways of, but some of these things are not because of cost, it's because of just interpretation. Like when it comes to foodstuffs, what we call cheap food, the green food, the fruits, they're the most nutritious.
They're not even cheap, meanwhile.
No, they are cheap. Nakati. Nakati.
There is broccoli,
cassava,
there is broccoli.
Cassava,
okay.
instead of bread. You remember that example?
Yes.
Cassava vis-a-vis bread. Cassava is cheap and it's more healthy.
Okay.
Than the bread.
Than the bread. That is expensive and more dangerous.
Yeah, and more dangerous. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, David Chinjinyimwa, for that very insightful conversation. And I'm very sure that somebody watching us right now has clearly understood that sustainable procurement practices or reforms do not only apply to public sectors, it also applies to our homes. You know, we have the mentality as Africans, as Ugandans, as human beings, that when we buy something cheap, it's the way to go. But at the end of the day, as David has explained, that cheap things are actually expensive. But nonetheless, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Mildred Pedun. Do stick around to NTV as you enjoy the rest of the program.
Thank you.